Deirdre, are you going?
Yes. Hi, everyone. We are so excited that we have with us Dara Sklar. Now, Dara is a productivity expert that you never knew you needed until now. She's a Google Tools powerhouse and funnel gorgeous master marketer. Dara will help you turn digital organization into the quiet hero in your business. And as a lifelong entrepreneur, organization addict, and creator of the wildly popular Get Productive with G Suite online course, Dara has been saving business owners from messy systems and frustrating tech for years. And we can attest to that because we have her course and it's amazing. So, by asking how can we make this more efficient, she helps her clients spend less time in the weeds and more time scaling a business that they love. Dara, we are so excited to have you here.
I am so excited to be here and so grateful for your invitation.
All right, so let's go ahead, Carmen. You want to kick it off?
Sure. I mean, I think productivity, either you're a productivity geek, it seems like it's a spectrum, right? Productivity geek, or you absolutely hate it. Like you can't get it together and it's your thorn in your side. So one of the questions I had for, how do you keep up with all the tech changes? Because you love productivity and there's always stuff that's coming up new. And then in addition to that, what tips do you have to help the everyday non-tech entrepreneur keep up with them?
That's a great question. How do I keep up is by being a user of the products that I teach on, by not using everything. So trying really hard not to chase shiny objects. It's very tempting when I see new technology. I'm like, ooh, I want to learn how this works because I like learning new things. But the reality is if I'm actually just looking to stay in my lane, in my business and keep, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, then it's actually not that hard to stay on top of things because I try to keep the number of different tools that I'm using to a dull roar. So I keep up by being the person who's using them. And I'm the kind of person who's always looking for the best way or better ways to do things. So I'm looking at it through the lens of like, how can I make this faster? And like, as an example, I have an assistant and she will do a task and let's say she's sick or she's got a day off and I'm the one who steps in and takes over. Well, when she comes back to work, I have a list of suggestions on how she could be organizing herself differently or doing things differently or having things at her fingertips. Like almost every single time I'm like, oh, I would do it differently. Oh, I wonder if she's doing it this way. And I do that for other people too. Obviously, it's great when I can do it in my own business, but that's just the lens through which I see things. Did I answer your question? I'm terrible with like multi-part questions and then I like answer the first thing and then forget what the rest of it is.
Yeah, no, I like that. So, I mean, what I got out of it is that you use the things that you focus on, and that's key right there, focus, I think. And so then with the people who are non-techie, I want to hear your answer on that. But what you just said kind of helps, like, don't try to do all the things in the first place. But what else would you say?
Yeah, well, and I also just want to add that because I'm running my own business, like, of course, I go and I teach and I consult, but I'm running my own business using the tools that I'm teaching other people to use. So it's not like I don't have a business. I'm not the person who's teaching you tutorials about how to use something in a vacuum. I'm teaching it because of my real world experience. And for the people who are less techie, use less tools, stay as simple as you can, but go deep within the tools that you are using. And that's actually one of the things that I'm hoping that we'll get a chance to talk about today is just the little aspects. And all of them are incremental because really what happens with people, especially people who are not so tech savvy, is you make one little change and it makes a big difference. And then that becomes just a part of what you know and how you navigate your computer, let's say, or navigate the internet, or navigate the tools and apps that you're using. You won't learn that one thing and then it just becomes part of you. So then you have room to learn another, and then you have room to learn another. So it's not feeling like you have to learn everything all at once. You're not looking to do a full-on makeover of your business. You're learning to say, oh, well, I use Gmail webmail every day, but maybe there's 7 things I don't know. I'll learn one of them right now. Oh, that was really easy. That's really cool. I'm going to use that from now on. I'm going to add on a second one. And I love, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I'm on a Zoom and someone's screen sharing. And at the end of the call, I'm like, can I give you a tip? Because I see something that they were doing or that they could be doing better. And that I can just visually see it in the way that they've been navigating their screen or like the way their bookmarks are set up or something like that. And I actually had a call with someone that was like, not even remotely related to technology. And at the end, I was like, by the way, did you know you could rename your bookmarks? And she was like, that 1 minute was worth this entire hour.
Yeah, I love little tips like that. Those are awesome.
Yeah. And it is the little things that make a big difference, because each one of the little things is like, it's an improvement on something you're already doing. You know, I'm not saying go out and get some new software and start learning it. I'm saying, hey, there's something you could do that would make your experience smoother, or make your customers' experience smoother, or make your attention span or your focus and therefore your productivity stay on task and on target, because you're not distracted by searching for something.
Nice.
Yeah, now, and along those lines, Dara, you know, most entrepreneurs are using, or they're at least familiar with Google Drive, Gmail, and Calendar, Google Calendar. Now, can you run your business back office primarily with these tools, you know, in the sense of simplification? And if you can, how does that work?
That's a great question. And I think that the answer lies a little bit more along the lines of how many people are part of your business. So a very small business of 1, 2, 3 people, absolutely you can run it using just the Google suite of tools. There are, yeah, I mean, it really can be run that way. And I think what really comes down to is everybody using everything the same way, if that makes sense. So if you have someone who doesn't adhere to your systems, you know, somebody who just isn't involved in, like, who doesn't like the calendar, or who can't seem to figure things out, or who doesn't want to use Google Drive, or who's using it in a different way that doesn't sync with the team, like not naming things or not filing things and causing some confusion, then that can be problematic. But I don't see any reason why, like, I don't, you know, even the only thing I'm thinking about is like maybe project management software, but that's again a bit more advanced, and you can actually deal with some of that within the applications. But I think, yeah, absolutely. Like Google Suite is just, it's such a versatile tool. And this is one of the things, like when I'm teaching about it, I'm always wondering, like, how are you using it? I'm not saying go use it like me. I'm saying let's apply your own personality, your own experience, your own needs, and let's go and see how you can use these tools, like customize them for yourself. And there's a reason that billions of people use Google tools, is because it really can, it's like a snowflake. Like everybody's setup, everybody's needs, everybody's systems are all going to be different. And that's okay. And that's actually encouraged, because that's why the tool is so robust, so that everybody can use it differently.
Yeah, I like that. We had a client actually who was going to maybe work with someone who was going to set up their Google Works or their Google Drive, and they were going to set it all up because she needs help with organization. Now, we referred her to your program, but before she did this, she was searching on her own, and she realized, and it ties into what you just said, that if she had someone else do it, she wouldn't know the reasons or the whys of the setup. Then she's doing it the way that other person does it. And I love what you just said, that you're not saying necessarily to do it your way. You're saying, let's look at how you use it, and then let's optimize that. That is totally key, because then it's just, that also goes hand in hand with what you said before, which is, you know, you're already doing stuff in your business. Let's just add one thing first. Let's add another thing second. Let's add a third thing third. You know, instead of trying to do everything, it's like you just make incremental changes, and that makes, you know, that's even more powerful than trying to burn it all down and rebuild something brand new.
Well, and it's just habit stacking, honestly. Or, you know, it's like how successful is your diet going to be if what you've done is like decided that you're never ever going to eat all of these things again, and you clean out your whole kitchen. Like, that's not going to feel natural. But if you're like, I'm going to just drink more water today, and then when drinking water becomes a habit, you add something else. And, you know, it's the same thing with learning new aspects of technology or adjusting. And I'll tell you, like, my own backstory, where I started my business in 2005, and it was just a little side hustle. And I was like mixing my revenue from the side hustle with my personal revenue. And I was just creating this incredible mess in the back end of my business, because I was working full time. and I was serving clients. And then I suddenly got this flood of new clients, which forced me to quit my job. Good problem to have, of course. But I was so busy serving them that I hadn't set up infrastructure. And so it took me years to essentially undo the problems that I had created and to step back and look at my business and decide that I needed to set it up differently. This wasn't an overnight thing. And that's where I'm coming from when I'm teaching, is like, I'm not expecting overnight change. I mean, you know, you can obviously bring someone into your business to help you expedite, because then that person's dedicated to those changes. And it's not necessarily like in terms of as like where you don't have the time necessarily to come in and dedicate a certain amount of time. So if you bring in a dedicated person to make those changes, but I'll tell you, like, it was probably 2 or 3 years of me still working, like overworking in my business, while knowing that there was a light at the end of the tunnel as I started making better systems for myself. And I think like documenting processes was a huge one. When I brought on my assistant, we had it was actually within Google, but I wouldn't use that system anymore, but it was essentially, we had like a wiki, an internal wiki, and it was all the instructions, and it worked out really well, because before the assistant that I have now, that I've had for 11 years, I think I went through like 3 different assistants. So like trained them, and then it didn't work out. Trained the next person, didn't work out. And so the fact that I had everything documented by the time I found the right person meant every time I take the time to document my process that I know inside my head, I never have to do that thing again. And that was the biggest time shift for my life and my business. Yeah. But anyways, just thinking back to like baby Dara entrepreneur through till today, and like just everything has its place, and I know what tools I'm using, and I know how to use those tools, and I know where to find things, and I know how to communicate with my assistant and the clients that we have. So it's amazing what the incremental change can do, but it feels like there's a long way to go when you're in the weeds of frustration.
Oh yeah. Well, that's so powerful. And that brings up, I mean, we're not talking about scaling necessarily, but when you're ready to scale, or when, you know, a lot of people think they need to bring someone on. Well, you aren't ready to bring someone on unless you have the standard operating procedures written down, because otherwise you're spending all your time going through the whole thing with them. So it's like, it's less painful to write things down as you go, and then build that SOP library or procedures library, whatever you want to say. That's just aside from what we're talking about, but
yeah,
but it's such a good point. What's your favorite Google Tools hack?
So, I mean, I have so many. I literally have a freebie coming out, my top 40, you know, Google tool hacks that you wish you'd always been using, or something more clever than that. But I recently, in the promotion of this event, I decided to take an email that I had drafted a couple of months ago when I was visiting my parents and turn it into a 3-part email series. And I have never gotten so many replies to my emails as I did then from this 3 email series. And this was just, I went to visit my parents, and my dad's like, oh, by the way, and he like opens his computer, I've been waiting to see you a year and a half or 2 years later. I'm sure he hadn't suffered that long, but he's like, I've been waiting for you to arrive because I have a question. And the very first thing, I'm going to tell you the 3 tips just for anybody who's not on my email list, because they were so well received. Because my favorite tip, my favorite Google hack, is the one that makes the other person's eyes light up, and that yields the, oh, I'm so happy you told me this response. So the first one was, he shows me his Gmail screen. And I mean, he's in his 60s, so the text on his screen is a little bit bigger than the way that I have it, but it was so zoomed in that he had to like scroll bar across back and forth in order to read an email. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I've restarted my computer, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Control-0. And it would reset. And it was because he had accidentally zoomed in on the Gmail. And with that, he was like, what did you just do? And I'm like, oh, well, you know, you had accidentally zoomed. And so it could be that on your wheel, on your mouse, you hold Control and you scroll, that could zoom, or you could do Control+ and that zooms in, or Control-, but Control-0 zeroes it out. And I'm sure it's Command on a Mac. But anyways, common problem. I know I accidentally do that every once in a while. Control-0 resets it. So that was the first one. The second one was, as I was looking at his screen, once it was zoomed back out, I noticed that he had chat and meet, like those little 3 boxes down the left-hand side. And I know that he doesn't use those at all. And in fact, I set him and his company up with Google Workspace, whatever it was called, all the years back, on like this legacy plan when it was free, because there used to be a way to get Google Workspace for free. And if you have the free plan, you can only upgrade and start paying, but you can never go backwards. So it's like, hang on to it if you've got it. I have one of those. He has one of those, but he's got like 10 different inboxes in his business. Anyways, so chat and meet down the left-hand side. And I know that he doesn't use it. And I just like went into the settings and I just hid those 2 things. And suddenly the whole interface is cleaned up. And then he has a whole bunch of labels down the side. I'm like, you don't need these. If you don't actively use them all the time, you can just like hide them all. And I just went into the settings and went into labels and went hide, 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 hide. And suddenly he had just like this clean experience, like a lot more white space on the screen. So anyways, the chat and meet one was the email that got the most responses from anybody. So those are a couple of my favorites. I mean, it's such a can of worms that you're opening up, but I'm going to go on because I just love these. I love making these suggestions. So I did a presentation for a group of lawyers the other day, and we were talking about in Gmail, how you get these threaded messages, and the threaded message can go up to 100 back and forths, and not just between 2 people. It could be a group of people. So you could have, I guess the lawyers and whoever they're emailing with. I mean, I've done it with like my ultimate Frisbee team, and there's 20 people on the email thread, and it's helpful. Like, I personally love the interface. But one of the things that I discovered years ago that I know that a lot of people don't realize is the stars. So when you're looking at your inbox and you have your list of emails and you see there's like a column for stars, that column is not where you should use the stars. So what you should do is, if you look, and this, you can just use it as an example. And if you want me to share my screen, I'll actually demonstrate this. But basically, when you open up the email on the far right-hand side, there's a star inside each and every email. So if you star within a long thread an individual message, that message will pop open when you open the thread. So let's say you have 50 back and forths, and it's like a conversation with a client. And at one point they give you their login information. And at one point there's a contract attached. And at one point there's like a, yes, please go ahead with the following. You can star those 3 things out of your 50 back and forths. And every time you open that thread, those emails are the ones that stand out. So you don't have to figure out where in that entire thread. And these lawyers, all of them were like clapping and cheering, like they were so excited, because it was a huge frustration, because we started talking about search and how to find things. And then he was like, I'm so frustrated because I know that it's in this thread, but there's 100 messages. And I'm like, well, here, first of all, star things that are important as they come in. So like when you don't have to retroactively do this, but as you're having these communications, when there's something important, put a star on it. And then I was showing him a few other things as it relates to search. So anyways, that's just a dabble. I have more. I have a whole list. And I have the whole 40 of them. I could go on for hours, but I'll let you continue grilling me.
Yeah, no.
We can come back to more of them as they come up.
Yeah, those threads. There's also a way to change it so it doesn't show in a collapsed thread, which is, I prefer that because I lose some of the ones I want to find. So now I know another way to do it. But you know how there's a view, you can either have it in a thread or you can have them come separately.
There's 2 gaps there. I mean, I wish that you could choose to unthread certain things. And I wish that you could also choose to merge or unmerge certain threads. So it frustrates me, for example, if I sent out a mass message that, let's say I'm organizing some squash events. I'm teaching women to play squash. And so let's say I sent out a message, BCC everyone, 12 different women, and every one of them that responds is all in the same thread, even though it's all separate people. And so I wish that there was a way to unthread things or to lump things together, like a client who adds something to your subject line and throws off the threading. But you're right, you can turn off that conversation view. I mean, I'm addicted to the conversation view, but at first it was awkward because I came from Outlook where everything is individual. But I find it incredibly handy that everything related to that subject happens to be lumped together. And I know how to work within the system. I know the starring, and I know what to look for to see, because I feel like if I ever was away from my email for a period of time, and even like I'm thinking about my business where we have conversations with our clients that are related to an order. And if sometimes the client will respond before we've gotten a chance to get back to them. And if that was like, if it wasn't together, it would actually be quite confusing. So, but it's again, it's like understanding how your technology works and making it work for you. And in your brain, that's how it works. And that's okay. Like, that's why that setting exists, to unthread those conversations.
Definitely. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Now, so Dara, let's talk for a minute about your LastPass mastery course. So I know that's something that you have donated inside the VIP pass for this summit. And can you talk a little bit about why you use LastPass and then how it compares to other online security tools, such as Chrome extension password manager?
Yeah, so there is inside of your Chrome or inside of any of your browsers, there is a password manager, which I'm sure we all kind of have inadvertently or intentionally used at some point. And there's honestly nothing wrong with those, but there are limitations that have been solved by LastPass that I personally love. But there's like a little asterisk, there's like a caveat there, because as much as I love LastPass, and I love it I'm going to tell you why I love it. And then I'm going to tell you like the really big downfall, which is, it might be a spoiler, but I'm passionate about everybody doing this thing that I'm going to tell you. And it's like the very first thing I say in my course, like, if you learn nothing else from this course, please do this one thing. But I'm going to come back to that in a sec. What I want to say about LastPass is, when I share passwords, I get to remember who I've shared them with. I never have the expectation of privacy when I share a password through LastPass, because if I share a login with you and you have your Chrome set to ask you, do you want to save this password? So I have LastPass, you have LastPass, I share with you. You go to log into the website I've shared with you on your side, and then your Chrome says, hey, do you want to save this password? So even if I've said to LastPass, don't tell my share person what the password is, their pop-up could say, do you want to save this? And they could say yes, and then they have it in their system. So what I appreciate about LastPass is, obviously it's nice to kind of organize the sharing in that way, but it also helps me keep a log of who I've shared what with. So let's pray that this doesn't happen, because 11 years is a long time with one assistant. But if ever my assistant was no longer working with me, I have a log of every single password that she has shared with me. And I can go and not only remove her from it, but more importantly, go and change all of my passwords that I have. So I like that it's organized. I like that it 99% of the time, maybe 98% of the time, will plug in the login, the user and password for any website that I'm about to log into. I like that it pops up and asks me if I want to save it. I like that there's search capabilities. Search is like the best thing ever across all Google tools, by the way, but like within LastPass, it's great. I have hundreds and hundreds of passwords. When I first started in business, we were using a spreadsheet. I mean, obviously this is before there were password managers, but it was cumbersome. And then to have people share their passwords with us, and it makes me feel confident when I work with a client and they've given me a password. Like, I feel that there's a security element there that they can appreciate, that it's not just floating out there. I have a friend who's got a little book and she laughs at herself. I'm like, you got to start using LastPass. So how it, and this is the reason that I really like it, and how it kind of works a little bit differently than something like Google Password Manager, which is that I have it on my phone. So I have the paid version of LastPass. It's not very expensive. You don't have to have it, but if you do have it, you can have LastPass on different devices. And I actually signed up for the families version because it's cheaper than the business version, and it allows me to have other users under my umbrella. But I love that I can check it on my phone, and inside of LastPass, I also have all of the cards in my wallet, all of the numbers. So if I want to, like, all my credit card numbers are saved in LastPass. I have a picture of my passport, picture of my birth certificate, picture of like secure documents are all saved inside of LastPass. And my husband and my executor of my will are both down as emergency contacts within LastPass, which means if something happens to me, my husband can request access and get access to my entire LastPass in an instant. And that to me is a really big deal, to have the continuity. We never know what's going to happen. All of a sudden my stepmother had a stroke in 2008, and my dad had to go to the bank because he didn't even know how to log into their online banking. While his wife's in the hospital, in a coma, he's sitting down with the bank trying to prove who he is so he can get access to, because I mean, at that time, the technology wasn't there, but like that stuck in my mind when I set things up so that my husband would have continuity and vice versa. So those are all like good reasons to have LastPass. And before I finish, step off my soapbox, I want to tell you the security thing. There was two, one of which I've already mentioned, which is that even when you share something and you say, no, don't tell them the password, they can still see that password potentially, whether, you know, depending on how tech savvy they are. And there's no, like, it's not because people are, it's not because they have ill intent. Like, it's not because somebody's going to try and screw you over that, you know, but it's still helpful to understand what you're doing, because login information can be problematic and you want to know what's happening when you hand that over. But the other thing is that by default, unfortunately, LastPass does not log you out. So when you have the little Chrome extension that's sitting up in the address bar, next to the address bar, if you right click on it and you choose, I think it's options. I'll just do it really quickly to make sure I'm saying the right thing. Yeah, you go to options and the very first line says, log out when all browsers are closed, or log out after this many minutes of activity. So please, everyone, if you are using LastPass, go right click on your little LastPass Chrome extension, choose options, and then check those two boxes and change the log out after a certain number of minutes of inactivity. On my laptop, I have it set to 5. On my desktop, I have it set to 15. You can set it to 60. You could set it to 90, whatever you want for, like, if it's your home computer, but just do have a function so that if you restarted your computer, like imagine somebody stole your laptop from the coffee shop you're working at, if people still work in coffee shops anymore. Like, this is just really important. And unfortunately, it's not a default setting in LastPass. So LastPass just lets you stay logged in perpetuity, which defeats the purpose of it being secure. So I also feel that if you log into it daily or multiple times a day, that master password that you've created will be that much more anchored in your brain and that you won't forget it. Whereas if you set the LastPass password and then you never ever have to use it again, or you rarely have to use it, that it's not going to be something that you've got like in your blood and ready to come out your fingertips when you're logging in. Okay, yeah. I'm off my soapbox now. Thank you for listening.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm sure your LastPass course is amazing because there's a lot to know about LastPass. I had one experience where I can't remember if I got a new computer or what it was, but I couldn't get logged back in. That was really difficult. I had another computer, thankfully, because I would have lost everything. So I learned to download the, one-time pass or something like that. And also to make a backup of what's on LastPass, because if you ever get locked out, you can't get back in. I don't know if you have tricks around that, but that was
well, the trick is that my husband is my emergency person, right? So if I ever got locked out of mine, I could just log in, like get him to log into mine. Yes. And I could actually, so that is in and of itself a security feature, not just if something happens to me, but if something happens to my ability to remember my master password.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. Excellent advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we can go deeper in this a little bit if you'd like, but I want to remind everyone, if you want to learn and master LastPass, Dara's providing her LastPass mastery as part of the VIP pass. So the VIP pass is $77, and when you purchase that, you get every single one of the speakers' contributions. So it is worth over $3,000, and it's yours for $77. So we highly encourage you to take advantage of that. The price will go up at the end of the day tomorrow. And so the links are under this video. And then also, if you're not interested in the VIP pass, you still can get into Dara's world and learn her top 40 time-saving Google hacks for free. And you can take advantage of that by also going to the link under this video. And it is, I'll just read it for you. It's done.withdara.com/top-40. So we want you to take advantage of the stuff that we are offering, because we all are bringing our best stuff for you to help you optimize your online business.
I have a small confession, which is that my top 40 list is not quite done. So when you sign up, it will actually be a little bit of a waiting list. I intended fully to have it ready, but I am hosting this workshop for these women learning to play squash. And we had 72 spots. so far we've done 35 intro sessions, well, in groups of 6, but it's been a very, very busy week. So I had all intentions of like cramming and getting it ready, and it's not ready, but there's the page works. Sign up. It will be in your inbox within a week.
Yeah. And these links will stay up. So everybody, we're doing something different with the summit where we're not doing false scarcity and all that. The VIP pass price does go up. I mean, that is true. But aside from that, the links are available to you. So if you're watching this, right now it's September 25th. If it's October 25th, the freebie link will still be there. So you can check it out then. So, we want to thank you so much, Dara, for taking the time. And I mean, it's your passion for productivity and helping people master it and get the hacks and be able to, habit stack. I just love that. The habit stacking method of streamlining your business is obvious. So we hope that people will take advantage because you're a rock star at all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And then in about a half an hour, we will see everybody here with Lynn Neville, who's going to teach us how to grow your business with giveaways. So we'll see you then. Bye, everyone.